welcome to our channel. Now we are going to discuss about facial nerve. Facial nerve is the seventh cranial nerve. It is the nerve of second brachial arch. Functional components of the facial nerve are 5. First, now we can discuss about special visceral efferent, and second one is general visceral efferent, and third one is general visceral efferent, and fourth one is special visceral efferent, and fifth one is somatic efferent. Now we can know what is efferent and what is efferent. Efferent is nothing but carrying impulses from the brain to periphery is known as efferent, and efferent means the carrying of impulses from periphery to brain is known as efferent. And now we can discuss special visceral efferent. The special visceral efferent are responsible for the muscles of facial expressions and elevation of head bone. And the second one is general visceral efferent are responsible for secretomotor to the sublingual, salivary glands and submandibular glands and lacrimal glands. Lacrimal glands are responsible for the tears and palate and pharynx, etc. And now we can discuss about general visceral efferent are responsible for the carrying impulses from the sublingual and submandibular and lacrimal gland, palate, pharynx, etc. And fourth one is special visceral efferent are responsible for carrying impulses from the sensation from the palate and anterior two-thirds of the tongue except valid papillae. And fifth one is general somatic efferent are responsible for the innervate a part of skin in the ear. And now we can discuss what are the types of nucleus are present in the facial nerve. The first one is motor nuclei, second one is tractus solitarius, and third one is lacrimatory nuclei, and fourth one is superior salivatory nucleus. The motor nuclei is also known as brachiomotor, and second one is tractus solitarius is present in the taste pathway for the sensation of taste, and third one is lacrimatory nucleus is responsible for the tears, and the superior salivatory nucleus is responsible for the saliva. Course and relations of facial nerve. The facial nerve is attached to the brainstem by two roots. One is sensory and one is motor. Here the brainstem is the lower part of the brain. It is made up of medulla oblongata, pons and midbrain. Here the sensory root is also known as nerve intermedius. And here the two roots of facial nerve are one is sensory and one is motor are attached at the lateral part of the lower border of the pons, just medial to the 8th cranial nerve. Here the facial nerve and the vestibulocochlear nerve are attached by the accompanied by the labyrinthine vessels. It is a part of basilar artery in the internal aquatic meatus. And here the 8th cranial nerve, in the 8th cranial nerve at the bottom of the meatus, the two trunks are formed as a single trunk at the where it lies in the petrous temporal bone. Here the first part is directed laterally above the vestibule, and the second part runs backwards to the middle wall of middle ear above the promontory, and the third part is directed vertically downwards behind the promontory. And here the first bend is formed between the first part and second part. Here the geniculate ganglion is formed, and the second bend is formed above the promontory and editors to masted antrum. Here the third part is continuous as vertically downwards to the stylomasted foramen. Here the facial nerve leaves the base of the styloid foramen and enters into the posteromedial surface of the parotid gland and runs forward through the gland, crossing the retromandibular vein and the external carotid artery behind the neck of the mandible, and it gives to 5 branches. The first branch is within the bony facial canal. It gives 3 branches. One is great petrosal nerve, and second one is nerve to stapedius, and third one is chorda tympani. Here the great petrosal nerve performs a major function. It joins to the deep petrosal nerve to reach the lacrimal gland, and here the nerve to stapedius passes through the stapedius muscle and chorda tympani. Chorda tympani will supply the sensation of taste of the anterior two-thirds of the tongue. Now we can discuss what are the branches of the facial nerve. Within the bony facial canal, the branches are divided into three. One is great petrosal nerve and another one is nerve to stapedius and another one is chorda tympani. Here the great petrosal nerve joins with the deep petrosal to reach the lacrimal gland, and here nerve to stapedius is supplies to the nerve to stapedius. Nerve to stapedius is supplies to the stapedius muscles of the middle part of the ear, and here the chorda tympani will supplies to the anterior two-thirds of the tongue by the lingual nerve, and here the second part. Here in the exit of stylomastoid foramen, here it supplies to the posterior auricular nerve. The posterior auricular nerve is present just below the stylomastoid foramen and it between the mastoid process and external auditory acoustic meatus, and it supplies to the auricularis posterior and occipitalis and intrinsic muscles on the back of the auricle. And here the second branch is digastric branch, which is closely related to the posterior auricular nerve and it supplies to the posterior belly of digastric. And the third branch is stylohyoid branch. It will be supplies to the stylohyoid muscles, and the third part is the terminal branches. The terminal branches are supplies to the one is temporal and another is zygomatic, buccal and marginal mandibular and cervical. Here the temporal part supplies to the auricularis anterior, auricularis superior, frontalis, orbicularis oculi and congulatus supercilior. And here the zygomatic will be crosses the zygomatic bone and supplies to the lower part of orbicularis oculi. And the third part is buccal. The buccal are divided into two numbers. One is the upper buccal and one is the lower buccal. The upper buccal and lower buccal are divided by the parotid gland.